Chapter 274, Time passing, each rare ingredient acquired or promising alchemical formula discovered deepened her hope, though ultimate success eluded her persistent grasp. Despite her frequent absences, Celine regularly returned to briefly assess Orion's condition personally, her expression always calm yet filled with quiet worry and determination. Each return filled the mansion with brief reassurance, reminding everyone of her unwavering dedication. In this manner, 8 full months passed quietly yet inexorably since the day Orion had fallen unconscious. The Hellstorm estate continued moving forward, sustained by the collective determination, loyalty, and quiet strength of its inhabitants. They remained patiently hopeful, silently preparing themselves for the day Orion finally awakened. Then, on one seemingly ordinary day, sunlight spilled gently through Orion's room, bathing the expansive space in comforting warmth. Birds sang melodiously outside, their cheerful melodies filtering softly through slightly parted curtains. Within, Orion's imposing draconic form lay motionless upon the reinforced bed, breathing slow, rhythmic, and steady, an unchanged sight witnessed countless times over the past months. Yet something subtly shifted in that quiet moment. Orion's eyelids twitched faintly, barely noticeable at first. Gradually, almost imperceptibly, his eyes slowly fluttered open, golden pupils gleaming softly with gentle awareness and curiosity. A quiet groan escaped Orion's throat, deep yet barely audible, as he gradually regained consciousness. His mind felt clouded and strangely heavy, awareness returning slowly, piece by piece as he felt his soul fusing with his body. Confusion briefly dominated his thoughts, he blinked softly, momentarily uncertain of his surroundings. The familiar furnishings, comforting warmth, and gentle sunlight swiftly dispelled Orion's initial confusion. Relief washed softly through him, recognizing the familiar safety of his own room within the Hellstorm estate. Yet, his limbs felt strangely heavy and sluggish, as though unused for far too long. Slowly, carefully, Orion moved his powerful draconic limbs, testing their responsiveness. Muscles creaked softly, stiff and sore from prolonged inactivity, yet he gradually succeeded in regaining control. Quietly exhaling a deep breath, Orion shifted his massive draconic body into a more comfortable position, gradually easing the lingering stiffness from his muscles. As he lay there quietly, fragments of memories slowly emerged, vivid flashes of intense combat, powerful enemies, and his risky evolution within the heat of battle. Orion's heart tightened briefly, recalling the immense strain he'd willingly placed upon himself to protect everyone he cherished. Orion quietly examined his body, gently tracing the smooth, reinforced scales with thoughtful contemplation. His awareness shifted inward, first carefully looking at his sea of consciousness. It had become far denser than before, but he could also see visible cracks at its edges. However, his sturdy SoC was holding strong against collapse. Then he shifted his focus and looked at the rest of his body. Mana channels lay there cracked and battered, clearly having been damaged during that battle. "Seems I've finally returned," Orion murmured quietly, voice deep yet faint from prolonged silence. "But, how long have I been asleep?" He slowly sat upright, each movement careful lest he destroy something. Looking around, he noted the empty room, a gentle smile forming on his lips. Clearly, everyone had diligently cared for him during his prolonged slumber, yet they currently remained unaware of his awakening. 6 to 8 months, Orion guessed thoughtfully, estimating roughly based on the amount of time he had been awake inside the SoC as his life fire. This is much sooner than what Astraxa told me. Was she scaring me? Era, you haven't even woken up properly and are already doubting me? I'm 100% correct in my analysis. Something drastic has happened to you without any of us knowing about it. Orion smiled softly, feeling a warmth in his heart at hearing Astraxa's teasing voice once again. Despite her flirtatious and sometimes mischievous attitude, she had become a comforting and familiar presence during his months of isolation within his sea of consciousness. Something drastic? Orion mused aloud, gently flexing his draconic claws and watching how the muscles rippled smoothly beneath his glossy scales. You may be right, Astraxa. My body certainly feels different, far more resilient than I expected after such prolonged inactivity. Era, aren't you full of surprises? Asterixia chuckled gently, her melodic voice filled with playful amusement. Just when I think I know everything about you, you manage to surpass my expectations once more. Orion's lips curled into a wry smile, eyes glinting warmly with amusement. It seems keeping you entertained is becoming my specialty. He stretched carefully again, testing each joint and muscle, sensing the immense power hidden deep within. Despite the subtle aches from long inactivity, Orion's physique felt unmistakably robust, infinitely stronger and sturdier than he remembered. Taking a steadying breath, Orion decided to regain his human form. Closing his eyes, he calmed himself down, calling upon his innate connection to the draconic bloodlines coursing within his veins. A gentle warmth suffused him, spreading outward through his enormous draconic form. Slowly, the massive body began shrinking. His impressive wings smoothly retracted, scales receding seamlessly into smooth, healthy skin. Draconic claws and horns vanished gently, replaced by elegant, human features. Within moments, Orion stood again in his familiar human form, the transformation completed effortlessly. Blinking softly, Orion stepped carefully off the reinforced bed, feeling his bare feet meet the cool, polished wooden floor. Muscles rippled smoothly beneath his pale skin, body feeling strangely yet reassuringly familiar. He moved gracefully toward the large mirror set into the corner of his room, drawn by curiosity to see the results of his months-long evolution. His gaze met the reflective surface, eyes widening immediately in surprise and fascination at his own appearance. He now stood tall at an impressive 190 centimeters, body lean yet solidly muscular, exuding confidence and unmistakable strength. Thick, lustrous, long black hair fell down behind his handsome face, accentuating finely sculpted features now matured with subtle, dignified allure. All the youthfulness had left his features as he now seemed like a young adult. Yet Orion's greatest surprise lay in his eyes, now strikingly heterochromatic, one eye flaming red, blazing vividly with fierce passion, while the other shone a captivating lightning purple, electric and mesmerizing. Clearly, each color vividly symbolized the two dominant draconic lineages now thriving harmoniously within him, fire and thunder. My, Asterixia purred appreciatively, her voice filled with unmistakable delight. Orion, you've grown even more charming. If I had a heart, it might just skip a beat. Orion chuckled warmly at her exaggerated praise, unable to hide his own satisfaction at the remarkable transformation. Flattering me again? You do know how to boost my ego, Asterixia. Someone needs to do Lumi's job, hee. He chuckled and flexed experimentally, marveling at the sheer power and perfect responsiveness of his refined physique. Curiosity ignited once more, he closed his eyes briefly, focusing inward to carefully assess his internal condition. Almost immediately, his eyes snapped open again, shock plainly visible within their depths. He had unknowingly shattered through the muscle reformation stage and even surpassed the starting of the tendon and ligament tempering stage, now standing at the very peak of tendon and ligament tempering. His body had transformed far beyond his initial expectations, becoming astonishingly durable and extraordinarily strong. I truly underestimated just how profound this evolution would be. It not only improved my physique but also helped me to break through 2 levels, Orion murmured quietly in genuine astonishment, pride and excitement evident in his voice. However, his enthusiasm briefly faltered when he assessed his mana cultivation. He discovered, with mild disappointment, that his mana cultivation remained stagnant, still firmly stuck at the 3rd level of awakening grade. His affinity runes lay half-broken and visibly damaged, requiring painstaking reconstruction and repairs. Even worse, his mana channels appeared heavily fractured, mana sluggishly responding to his mental commands, stubbornly refusing smooth circulation. He sighed softly, disappointment flickering briefly across his handsome features. It seems my mana cultivation has not progressed as I hoped. I still have a long way to go. And I need to first fix all of this if I want to continue my mana cultivation. Just then, the room's door opened softly, hinges whispering quietly. Rina stepped gently inside, carefully balancing a small basin of warm water and a soft cloth, routine items used countless times over the past months for Orion's care. Chapter 275, Meeting Rina. Her gaze remained initially lowered with gentle and practiced movements that she had trained for months. But sensing a subtle difference in the room's atmosphere, she lifted her head instinctively, immediately freezing in place as her eyes widened dramatically, heart thundering wildly within her chest. The basin slipped unnoticed from her trembling fingers, landing upon the polished floor with a sharp, echoing clang. Tears instantly filled her wide eyes, streaming quietly down her flushed cheeks, breath catching softly in her throat. Standing tall and very much alive in front of her was Orion, transformed and matured, yet unmistakably himself. His warm smile, gentle eyes, and comforting presence filled her entire body with overwhelming happiness, disbelief, and relief. "Why, young master?" Rina whispered shakily, voice choked and fragile from powerful emotions flooding through her. Her entire body trembled softly, yet joy radiated beautifully from her tear-filled gaze. Orion's expression softened immediately, heart swelling tenderly at seeing Rina's intense reaction. He stepped forward quietly, voice gentle and filled with warmth. "I'm back, Rina." Her legs moved before conscious thought could form, instinctively carrying her forward. Within moments, Rina collided softly into Orion's firm embrace, her slender arms encircling him tightly, face pressing gently against his warm chest. She cried softly, overwhelmed with countless emotions, joy, relief, and gratitude that he was fine. "You finally woke up," Rina murmured softly between quiet sobs, voice trembling with deep emotion. "Thank the heavens, you're back, Orion." Orion smiled, seeing her address him directly with his name due to her emotions. He gently wrapped his strong arms around her, holding her tenderly yet securely. His fingers brushed soothingly through her silky hair, his quiet voice resonating gently with reassurance. "I'm sorry for keeping you waiting, Rina. I'm truly grateful for all your care." Rina shook her head slightly against his chest, refusing to release him. "I would wait forever for you, young master," she whispered quietly, sincerity clear in her voice. "As long as you're back safe, nothing else matters." The warmth between them filled the room quietly, tender emotions flowing freely and gently healing the lingering wounds from Orion's long absence. Meanwhile, inside Orion's mind, Astaraxa chuckled softly in gentle amusement, voice filled with subtle satisfaction. "Era, how romantic. Should I give you two some privacy, Orion?" Orion rolled his eyes slightly yet smiled warmly, silently enjoying the quiet, heartfelt reunion with Rina. After 8 long months, Orion had finally awakened, and in this quiet moment, he knew clearly that he was deeply missed by his entire family. After several long moments wrapped warmly in Orion's comforting embrace, Rina slowly drew back, gently disentangling herself. Her hands lingered briefly on Orion's strong arms as she stepped back slightly, blinking softly to clear the lingering tears that blurred her vision. Her gaze now studied him closely, curiosity mixing with subtle amazement as she fully took in his changed appearance for the first time. Orion stood tall before her, clearly transformed after regaining his human form. His previously long, neatly kept black hair had grown significantly longer, now cascading smoothly around his broad shoulders. Rina's eyes widened slightly in surprise as she noted the substantial increase in his height. Orion had grown remarkably from his former stature of around 170 centimeters to an impressive 190 centimeters, now towering over her considerably. He radiated a calm presence, the youthful softness she once remembered now replaced with a more refined, powerful bearing. Yet what captured her attention most were Orion's eyes, no longer their former uniform black, but strikingly heterochromatic. One was a lightning purple, reminiscent of thunder falling from the sky, while the other shone fiercely, blazing with fiery red brilliance. Each eye clearly symbolized a facet of his draconic heritage, further accentuating his unique charisma. Rina felt a soft warmth spreading across her cheeks as Orion caught her closely observing him. His lips curled into a gentle, teasing smile, voice light yet playfully curious. "How do I look now, Rina? Did I become more handsome?" She felt her blush deepen slightly, embarrassed yet unable to hold back the tender smile forming on her lips. Shaking her head softly in mild exasperation, she murmured warmly, "You really never change, young master." A gentle quietness fell between them, their eyes meeting silently for several lingering seconds. In the depths of Rina's gaze, a subtle shadow flickered briefly, a quiet echo of pain, helplessness, and regret from the harrowing events in the forest months prior. She vividly remembered her own powerlessness when Orion faced down those ruthless kidnappers, fiercely fighting to protect Fiora whom he cherished while she could only stand by helplessly. But Rina swiftly shook her head slightly, gently pushing aside those lingering thoughts. Her resolve hardened quietly once again, determined to never let herself remain helpless in the future. She took a small step backward, composing herself calmly. Meeting Orion's eyes with steadiness, she spoke softly, "I'll go and inform Lord Eldrick about your awakening, young master." Before Orion could open his mouth to respond or ask anything more, Rina swiftly turned, leaving the room quietly, the door clicking softly shut behind her. Orion shook his head slightly, a gentle smile still lingering on his lips as he turned toward the bed, sitting down heavily on its soft edge. He exhaled quietly, processing the emotional reunion and Rina's subtle reaction, clearly understanding the burdens weighing on her heart. Inside his sea of consciousness, Astarax's voice resonated gently, carrying a note of subtle insight. "Looks like that battle impacted her deeply." Orion nodded slightly in thoughtful agreement, speaking quietly within his mind. "Indeed, she already lost her family once before. I'm certain she doesn't want to experience losing someone close to her again, especially not in such a manner." He leaned back gently, his eyes drifting toward the sunlight softly filtering through the partially opened curtains, illuminating his quiet, empty room. Silence briefly settled between Orion and Astaraxa, both quietly enjoying the gentle, comforting tranquility around them. After several long moments, Astarax's voice echoed softly again, carrying subtle amusement tinged with a hint of wistfulness. "It feels rather empty without that little cat keeping things interesting, doesn't it?" Orion chuckled gently in agreement, recalling fondly Lumi's energetic personality. Indeed, Lumi truly added life to everything. She even woke up briefly a few months ago, but almost immediately had to undergo a forced evolution due to issues related to the supreme great ability Eye of Revelation. We didn't even manage to exchange more than a few words before that ability began merging forcefully with the system. Astaraxa hummed thoughtfully in response, clearly intrigued by this revelation. Such a troublesome little creature, always getting caught up in complicated matters. "Do you have any idea how long her forced evolution will take?" Orion shook his head slightly and said with a sigh, "Unfortunately, no. But I feel like she will be back in the next couple of days. The evolution this time is rather special, I might gain a new ability. And knowing Lumi, she would be rushing to complete the evolution as soon as she can." Astaraxa chuckled softly, amusement clear in her voice. "True enough. I doubt that energetic kitten will allow herself to remain away from you for too long. After all, she's grown quite attached to you, hasn't she?" Orion smiled faintly, warmth clear in his quiet voice. "Indeed, we've both grown fond of each other." The two continued their casual conversation, their voices gently filling the quiet emptiness left in Lumi's absence. Orion gradually relaxed, savoring the peaceful time in his room after living for so long inside his sea of consciousness.